I'm Andrew.
And I'm Angus from Cracka Wines. And today we're doing grape varieties, Cracka Grapes 101, Lesson 1, Riesling.
That's right. And today we're actually looking at a Riesling from the Eden Valley, which you'd probably say is one of Australia's most prominent places to grow Riesling, along with the Clare Valley in South Australia. They're probably the two most well-known in South Australia.
Maybe Prongerups and...
Prongerups in WA and the rest of the Great Southern in Mount Parker. You're probably looking at Tasmania. You might be looking at certain parts of the cooler bits of Southern Victoria and Western Victoria in particular.
Henty for sure.
Henty, yeah. The Grampians also make some good Riesling from time to time too. They're probably the main hotspots for Riesling in Australia. What about around the world though, Angus?
Around the world, Alsace, France and Germany, depending on who's won the most recent war. Mosul, Rheingau, Washington State, New Zealand. I should say Washington State, USA, New Zealand as well. Yep. You know, Marlborough, even Otago can do the odd decent Riesling. Martinborough can do the odd decent Riesling. Yeah, that's better. Oh, actually, the odd one in Italy, but really not much. I mean, what are you looking for in Riesling? What do you like in Riesling? Look at the colour.
Well, to start with, Riesling is, for my money, is the king of all white wine grapes. The reason why is because no other grape than Riesling can manage to express exactly where it comes from like Riesling can. It's almost like you're looking at a little window straight into exactly where this has come from. Yep. The season, the site, the soil, the way that the winemakers sort of looked at it. Nothing expresses itself quite like Riesling does.
I will agree with that. I mean, when I'm looking at Riesling, you know, I want to have colour, I want to have, you know, really bright colour, a bit of green in there, certainly doesn't hurt. Light yellow. I want it to smell like summer flowers and citrus and fresh and lively when it's young. Gets a bit kind of toasty, bit of Caro when it gets a bit older. But, you know, the great regions, they keep their signature as well. So like the Mosel, you keep the slatiness. You might get some kind of honey kind of, fruits in there, but at the same time, it still has that, you know, that lovely acid cut of the Mosel and also the, the slatiness. Then the mouth light, you know, fresh, always want, you know, fresh acidity.
Definitely.
Bit of sweetness is not a bad thing. Can be amazing if it's got enough acid. Then beautiful clean lines. So just as clean and fresh and lively. No oak. Don't put any oak in.
No.
Please.
Or fortify it.
Or fortify it. Just fresh, lively, drinking summer. You know, you can drink it all year round. Really.
Okay. And speaking a little bit about sweeter styles and dry styles, I mean, classically, the style of Riesling that was always made from the old country, so we're talking about the traditional French style, always had, and a German style for that matter, always had a little bit of sweetness.
Or a lot of sweetness.
Or a lot of sweetness, as it may. Now, during a certain period of Australian time, we ended up with the idea of that Riesling was always sweet.
Yep.
And after many, many years of the whole idea of the Moselle, as it was called at the time, always being sweet, you ended up with the almost like the ideal that Riesling was a sweet grape. And after a couple of really bad examples, you end up with this terrible reputation that Riesling got. Almost in the backlash to that, the modern style of Australian Riesling is very much a very, very dry style.
Super dry.
And
super dry, super clean.
Super dry. And the one we're looking at today is probably a perfect example of that. I mean, it's an Eden Valley Riesling and it's made dry, it's made crisp, and it's made to be straight down the line, all about acidity and nothing about sweetness.
Which is the Aussie way.
Which is definitely the Aussie way.
Old-fashioned, obviously. But Riesling goes in the cellar, tubes.
Definitely.
It's nice, young, keeps its acid, lives for, you know, the good Aussie ones, 10 years is pretty good. Good ones from Germany, Alsace can be 20 plus.
Or 100.
Yeah, they can go forever. Canada, ice wine.
Yes, ice wine, of course.
Bit of Riesling there too.
Yeah, definitely, exactly right. If the Riesling, the only challenge I suppose with Riesling is that it can be quite withdrawn. It can be quite down the line. There's often no obvious sweetness to it. If anything, Riesling is almost like
it's austere.
Yeah, it's almost like a thinking person's grape, and I mean that sounds a little bit pretentious in a way, but at the same time, it's a sort of variety where you really need to be working hard to work out what's great, to be producing something that's really interesting. Riesling is one of those varieties where you can't just go into the winery and go, great, let's just add a whole lot of oak to it and all that sort of stuff. You've really got to make sure that you've got your grape growing sorted from the start to make something that's going to be amazing.
The fruit's crap in the vineyard, the wine's going to be crap.
Yeah, exactly right.
There's no way you can hide it. So there is Cracka and Riesling.